Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody.
I do believe that the only way to classify the homework assignment from last week is with a hashtag winning.
Winning.
Because that was rough. It was a rough assignment.
You think so?
For homework last week. Yes, I did get it done. And by the sound of sheer depression on the other end, I know that you did too.
I did indeed finish the homework last evening. For all the new lists.
And it's a heck of a way to ruin your weekend.
You know, we'll get a little more into it in a moment. For new listeners, this is Two Boys, One Podcast. I'm Rob.
And I'm Zeke.
So he says. Anyways.
That should so I say, that should settle introductions.
Introductions settled. New business. New business!
I second that.
Thank you. So what we're talking about is a little segment we call Zeke-a-week. 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 Gets worse and worse every week.
That's how all my relationships go.
Worse and worse every week, huh?
Worse and worse every week.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Maybe if you didn't do that voice, things might go a little smoother.
Maybe if I didn't do a lot of things, Rob, but who am I to change?
Yep, that's true. You are yourself and you're a beautiful little hummingbird.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. Hobgoblin. I'm a beautiful little hobgoblin.
Beautiful little hobgoblin floating around on this little hoverboard or whatever the hell.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all right, Zeke-a-week. In this segment, we talk about a movie that one of us has challenged the other to watch. What we do is we find an actor in each movie and then link it to another movie. And then the next person picks off of that actor and from that actor, and that goes on and on and on. And what are we watching this week, Zeke? Or what did we watch?
So, this last week was all because of me, and it was a little film from Epix known as The Alien Apocalypse.
How did we get to Alien Apocalypse?
So we went with Lil Raimi. We started with Lil Raimi and 50-Foot Cheerleader, went to Evil Dead 2, and then we took the Bruce Campbell, the Big Chin, from Evil Dead 2 to Alien Apocalypse.
Quite a ride we've been on, I must say.
I can only imagine where it's going from here. I literally live in fear now. Every week I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
I promise you, next week you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
I can't. I would say that I can't wait, but I can. I can wait until the end of this segment to find out.
Well, for us to get to the end of the segment, we must first do the segment. So, Alien Apocalypse. Let's give you a little synopsis here. An astronaut, Dr. Ivan Hood, and his fellow astronaut Kelly return from their mission in space to find the world has been taken over by aliens. Now, Dr. Ivan Hood and Kelly must lead a revolution to free the human slaves from their alien masters. So, essentially, it was kind of a take on Planet of the Apes, only the apes are termites.
Very large termites. And they never really explained any of that.
I didn't really explain anything, really.
No, I almost wonder if it was based on a middle school writing assignment.
It certainly could be.
There really is no story arc. They managed because they decided, they woke up one morning and thought, you know what we need on our network is termite aliens and no storyline. We
should mention this was a
Who can we get?
This is a made-for TV movie by Sci-Fi before it was SYFY, when it was SCIFI.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, and who did they get? They got Brucey.
They got the Big Chin himself.
The man with the big chin?
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts?
And I must say, if they hadn't gotten him, we would never have seen it.
I even with Bruce, it was pretty tough to watch. I don't think I'd want to watch this without Bruce. Didn't really want to watch it with him, to be honest.
No.
Even though
it was a rough film. Yeah, it was not a great depiction of what a good popcorn movie would be.
Popcorn movie.
Yeah.
What's a popcorn movie?
I'm still trying to get around the, like, I sat through it in one sitting, and I'm not entirely sure how that happened. Huh.
You just had to tie yourself into a chair, I suppose.
Yeah, it was not an enjoyable watch. I don't recommend it unless you're literally following along with our podcast. In which case, like, kudos to you for being loyal.
There's a couple of times. I think you told me you laughed one time. I think I laughed four times.
4 times.
Yeah.
Do you remember what they were?
I don't know, some stupid line Bruce said. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
I do.
That narrows it down to all the good parts, I guess.
Yeah.
Averaged higher than 1 per scene.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good.
Lots of one-liners.
In a way that yes, they tried to have a lot of one-liners. I'm not sure that they accomplished that by just saying one line and then giving a weird face.
They had to try.
They did, I guess. They got paid.
I do have to.
Girls gotta eat.
Girls gotta eat. I was gonna say something, and here it is. I think the prop master should either be reprimanded or awarded, because those wigs and those fake facial hair.
Oh man, the beards were rough. I felt the same way, but I think that I hope he got different work from it somehow, in some odd way that he was promoted. I can't imagine they had a big budget to work with.
No.
But that was a terrible, terrible movie.
It was.
Terrible. Somewhere out there, you got to imagine that it's someone's favorite film. I just can't imagine what that person would like. Were they only given one film? Was it the first film they ever bought? Was it the film that they watched with their favorite babysitter? I don't know these things, but somewhere out there, we're talking about a film that someone loves, and they're hating us right now. And I will not apologize.
Well, whoever you are out there, your favorite movie is terrible.
Yeah, you should find a different favorite film.
I mean, I've been told movies I like are terrible, so it's just a rough. We still think you're a great person, and I think you have really
debatable.
It's not for me. I think your facial hair, if you have it, looks much better than it did in that film, and your hair doesn't look like somebody cut off a horse tail and sloppily threw it over your head.
The wigs were something special, and the termites were pretty bad. They're worse than the droid troopers from the first Star Wars.
From Phantom Menace?
That one.
Indeed. I think they were obviously trying to, since they had Bruce, and maybe not strictly because they had Bruce, but they were definitely trying to go for that B vibe, and I think they run into trouble with like wigs like that. Like, oh, that's really funny. That definitely gives it the B vibe, is maybe something they thought. But sometimes you just try too hard, and it oftentimes people try too hard for that kind of feel.
Well, I feel like typically, and I think I've had this discussion with you a couple times, and I've certainly run into it on other sets where they're like, we were going to make a classic cult B movie. Yep. And the movies that you think of when you think of films like that, like The Evil Deads, and like any early Raimi, some Roger Corman stuff, when they did that, and what made it a cult classic B film isn't that they were trying to have that vibe. They were literally extending their budget as far as it could go.
Yep.
And that's what they came out with. And they weren't trying to be like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to downplay it. We're going to make it look like it was made in the 80s. It was made in the 80s. It was made with no money. It was made with people that they knew or had kidnapped. And that was all that they had access to. So they weren't trying to make it look that way. And that's something that I think a lot of films now, and the reason that the storylines are so terrible isn't because they have a story that they've worked on for a little bit and they're going to make. They have this story that they worked on last weekend. They have, $100,000 they can throw into it. They have a network they can get it on. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, it's going to be that great, B movie. It's going to look just like the 80s. the film quality looks like just like the 80s. It was shot on, the newest camera and dumbed down with grain.
Yep.
They don't have any storyline, and then at the end of the day, they don't understand why they didn't make any money.
I mean,
but I'm not bitter.
No, it doesn't sound that way at all. There was a lot of funny. I guess I remember one of the things that made me laugh. Do you want to hear about it?
More than anything.
So there's that part where the termites are fighting back after they're swarming the mill, and Brucey tells them, fall back, and then the president and his men come to save the day, and the camera pans down the line of besiegers, and they're all firing arrows, and like you can tell they either fell to the ground just out of frame, or this one guy, it just like completely like falls out of his hand. It doesn't even fire. So that made me laugh. And then it cuts away to
I remember that.
And then it cuts away to some other action, and it goes back to the president, and he says, "Charge! Let's charge!" Like two guys to his left, just like completely like falls on his face as they start running, which I thought was it's really strange that they wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they thought it was really funny when they were editing it, or maybe they caught it when they were...
I can't imagine anyone on that set was having fun.
Yeah, you would think making a movie like that, you're just like, what is this? What is...
So in the realm that they created through this film, there are maybe 50 people left on Earth. Mm-hmm. They're all white.
No, there was one black astronaut, but he got his head bit off real early.
That's right. No, he died real early, real early. The president had survived, but rather than lead the rabble, he was painting his window, distraught and forlorn.
And I think
it was a special movie.
Bruce was trying to get him to rally people, join the cause. And I think the president says, "You want to beat him? Have you looked at him?" I'm pretty sure that was his explanation for...
You didn't tell me you could kill him. You killed one?
That's no big deal. It'd die like anyone else. Listen here, we gotta... Yeah.
Evidently, giant termites do not have the exoskeleton that a small termite does.
Oh.
They are somehow stretched out as they grow and become more permeable.
What do they keep saying? Yeah, you stab them and green shit comes out, something like that. Yeah, there was no hard exoskeleton, that's for sure.
They were. It was like the Ewoks charging.
Yeah, it really was when the humans were fighting back.
It's very similar, and that little tank they sent in did remind me a lot of like an airplane moment where they just kept coming out of it.
Yep.
Except that was the only airplane moment that I really caught on to. Evidently, it wasn't really a theme running throughout the film.
They were going airplane. Yeah, they did a poor job of getting that across.
I'm not sure there was a cohesive theme throughout the film. I just know that the fact that two of us watched it in the same week has to be a boon for their ratings.
I had a heck of a time finding it, I got to tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. How did you find it?
Well, I first tried iTunes, negative.
Mm-hmm.
Then I tried Amazon, negative, and that's really about the extent of my knowledge on streaming services. So then I just typed in, Alien Apocalypse streaming. And I got some pretty shady websites where I figured...
What else did you watch while you were looking for this?
2 hours later, I did manage to find it after viewing some other things. Nope, YouTube.
I can't imagine.
YouTube had it.
Nice. YouTube had the whole thing,
Yeah,
huh?
a lot of times I've been trying that with some of our other movies, and they've been taken down due to copyright disputes, but...
No one seemed to remember that this one was owned by Epix.
Epix, apparently.
All right. Well, for our listeners, if you want to follow along with this week's film, go to YouTube and look up Alien Apocalypse.
And Zeke, here's a segment within this segment. I need you to guess how many days I have left on 50-Foot Cheerleader before it expires.
Let me do some math here. That was our film from 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
I'm going to say that you have 15 days left.
Very close, 16 days.
Missed out on the money.
I did. So, at least I have that going for me. That's nice.
So that is nice. You can, cleanse the palate with 50-Foot Cheerleader.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that that's the superior film, but it is.
You know, I have 2 exhibits to bring to the court here. The first is regarding 50-Foot Cheerleader. I talked to Eric Kovac after I watched it and said, "Hey, I watched that movie you were in 2012."
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, that's funny that you tracked it down." And that was a very short discussion. But then he followed up a couple days later and said, "I've been thinking about it since you messaged me. And that is the most fun I've ever had doing background work on any film."
I don't doubt it.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm glad he enjoyed the experience. That's good.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, film, especially on something like that, where if you're running the whole show, production can be a little bit of a nightmare. But if you're just there for a few days and there to enjoy your dream of becoming part of a movie, then it is actually an entertaining experience. A B exhibit that I had was that my tracking down of Alien Apocalypse was at the local used DVD store, and they had it. It was $4.
$4. Didn't you say you already had it?
Yeah, I bought it there though. I got it with they had like a minimum buy for like random horror sci-fi picks, and it was in that. It was like 3 for $10 or something.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. So, trying to find Alien Apocalypse, I ran across a lot of like DVD sales for it, and it was always like triple feature, or Bruce Campbell triple feature, Alien Apocalypse, Man with the Screaming Brain, and My Name is Bruce, and I was just like, sorry, Bruce.
Yeah, you said that, because the Man for the Screaming Brain is a trailer on the DVD.
Yeah, it is.
And I got to say, if you are buying, as I did, buying this film because the cover looks pretty cool, that has nothing to do with the movie. None of that happens. And I got to say, it's infuriating.
Yeah, he didn't have that, like... One of the posters I saw, anyways, Bruce has got like a flamethrower or something. I don't know. It looks like a...
Yeah, so he picked it up in the movie, and then it fired one time, and it fell down a ravine. So
that's what... Okay.
He didn't even use
it.
That image never happened.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's not so surprising, really.
False advertising. Accountability.
I have one more thing to say about it. I'm going to hold you accountable for letting me talk. So they were in space for 40 years, these astronauts. But then they run into a guy, and he says the aliens took over 20 years ago, so that would make it 20 years into their mission.
Right.
But they're all like cavemen. Like what? I mean, even in 20 years, like there's no like destroyed vehicles or like technology at all. Like they went back to medieval times. Is
too much into it.
Accurate,
they turned into they went part goat is what they did, and they ate everything.
Yep.
And that's why there's no remnants of mankind whatsoever. They live like Mowgli in the jungle.
They really did.
And evidently only the hot people can wear skimpy clothing, and the rest of them are covered in layers and layers of buffalo rugs. Mm-hmm. But the hot women don't get warm.
I guess they get cuddled because people want to cuddle an attractive person.
Yeah, they're always insulated.
Always insulated.
That
is a loaded statement, my friend.
I don't know what you mean.
I am quite sure you do. Anyways, before we get on to next week's film, do you have anything else you'd like to say about Alien Apocalypse?
Thank God it's over.
That bad, huh?
I can't say that it's the worst thing I've ever seen, but at the same time, I can't think of anything worse offhand.
The Raven.
That was pretty bad, but I've blocked most of that out.
I see.
So I will say that it's within the same playing, it's within the same arena of bad as The Raven.
I guess I'm with you. I can't.
Or any Yui Ball film that I've forgotten that I've watched.
Is he still working?
He's not someone I keep track of, but I don't know if it's possible to stop him from working.
He's out there somewhere making a movie.
He's out there. He's either making a film right now. He's planning on making a film right now. He's gonna wreck your brain.
Some good advice for y'all: stay away from Yuli Ball. Is that his name?
Yes.
Yuli Ball. Get yeah, bad stuff. Anyway, Zeke, what do you think you're in for next week? What do you think you're going to be watching? Who do you think I recognized or could link to some other movie?
Who? Well, I can tell you, just it hurts me a little bit to know that reference is from one of my favorite films, Heat, and I won't be watching Heat. I can tell you that. I don't know. I have no idea what you're like. We have to follow a different actor from Alien Apocalypse other than Bruce this week. Mm-hmm, and you know what? I didn't recognize any of the other actors, so I can only imagine what I'm in for.
I will tell you that. Have you ever seen Xena, Warrior Princess?
I have.
Bruce's cohort / love interest. She was Xena's little sidekick.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay, you said you saw Xena.
It's been a while. So I saw.
You said
I saw Xena
in
the fifth grade. I'm sure that I saw some episodes of Xena.
What?
But the last time I saw Lawless was in Spartacus, and she did not look the same.
Did we get to see her boobies? I don't remember. I think we did.
You haven't seen Spartacus?
I mean, I saw like half of the first season.
You said that you'd seen Spartacus.
I never said it. Hey, there was a Spartacus scene in Alien Apocalypse, wasn't there?
Yes, there was. They mimicked the film a little bit.
Who is the leader here? That's me being the alien.
It fell upon deaf ears.
I'm the leader. No, I'm the leader. I'm the leader. Anyways.
I think that you're the leader.
I will use my best judgment. Okay, so Bruce's love interest was, just take my word for it, Xena had a little sidekick, and this lady in the film was the sidekick. But she...
A little xenophobe.
Indeed. Unfortunately, she does not have much of a movie list. What do you call it? You know, she hadn't been in a whole lot of movies. But, sir, that sniveling little worm that was the president, him I recognized. Peter Jason, as President Dembski, links us to... Waiting on the internet. Peter Jason was in They Live. Are you familiar?
What?
Are you familiar with They Live, sir?
No. Okay, it is a caveat of no. I am not familiar at all with the film. I am familiar with the T-shirt that you wear. Mm-hmm.
For listeners,
that is my knowledge
I have
of
a They
it.
Live T-shirt. If you're familiar with They Live, it's, it's the aliens. I shouldn't even say that, Zeke. It's by John Carpenter. It's certainly one of my favorite horror movies. I don't know if I'd classify it as a horror movie, but it's one of my favorite, fun B movies. Anyways.
Well, things are looking up this week, so I'm gonna look forward to it until I watch it.
And Zeke, I must tell you that there are a couple of options for you to dig yourself out of this B-movie hell I'm sure you're in. To me, it's not so bad, but you do have a couple of options. So anyways, I would keep my eyes open. You are... I'm
going to prop them open. Mm-hmm. I'm going to cut my eyelids off, and I'm going to stare at it nonstop.
You'll probably come back next week and be like, all right, next week we're watching 35 monsters in the swamp.
That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking.
35 monsters in the swamp. That's pretty... That's all I could come up with. Huh?
I've never seen The Thing.
The Thing? Why are you saying The Thing? I didn't say The Thing.
You're talking about the swamp. Isn't The Thing a variation of the Swamp Thing?
Are you... If I was there, I would slap you in the goddamn face. I don't know if you're serious or not, but no, it is not.
I don't know.
You think Swamp Thing and The Thing are both swamp creatures? Is that what I'm hearing?
I made that assumption incorrectly, evidently.
If I could link you to the thing, I would do it.
Why I oughta.
I think you could probably get to the thing next week if you want to do them yourself. But
I have no doubt that we will get there somehow, eventually.
I think part of this, which is fun, is we try to... I'll always be trying to get back into horror and what have you, and you'll be trying to... I would think...
I just want to get out. I just want to get out.
Well, Zeke, I granted you a slight boon. You just have to figure it out, sir.
Well, I appreciate the effort on your part to help a brother out. And stop putting baby in the corner.
I'll put her there all I want.
Well, this brings us to our last segment of the show, where Rob serenades us with the Lost Boy Scouts. Where if you have not been keeping up with our previous podcasts, then hit pause on this one and go back and listen to all of our previous podcasts because you don't want to miss this. And with that, I will give it over to Rob.
I would also add, you don't have to listen. You should listen to the whole thing, don't get me wrong, but I mean, you could just listen to the story part. Anyways,
did you say you should just listen to the story part?
Well, I mean, no, I didn't say that. You're hearing things. Listen to the whole podcast, everyone. Listen to the whole thing.
I can get behind that. So last week, Tink has been having a rough go of things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are familiar with the Neverland storyline, this version of Tink is in a situation where she needs to be brought back to life with some sort of clap.
Some sort of clap, indeed. We were left with a cliffhanger. Rufio was clapping, trying to bring Tink back to life after a fatal bee sting, as she was allergic. Anyways, I wanted to add a little something this week. Yeah, could you hear it? You probably couldn't, huh?
I have no idea what that was.
It was Metallica. Enter Sandman, there's a part where it says, "Take my hand, we're off to Neverland." Pretty clever, huh?
Oh, I got it. I got it.
The mic picked it up, so we'll see. We may have to cut that out. Anyways. With no further ado. Chapter 5. Dead Alive. Rufio had been clapping for what seemed like an eternity. He had had several seizures due to the street lamps in this neighborhood being connected to clappers. Poor Rufio was epileptic, so all those flashing lights really fucked his shit up. After recovering from his 9th seizure, he decided it was a lost cause. He'd bit a pretty good gash into his tongue, but he managed to mumble, "Well, you little demon, I tried." He picked Tink up by her tiny little toes, by one of her feet, trying to avoid having her body... He picked her up by the tiny toes of one of her feet, trying to avoid touching her too much and getting any of the shit or gore from the pirate sheet internally impaled a few chapters ago. On his hand. He didn't want to get that on his hand. She was still covered in the stuff. Tink looked terrible, smelled worse, and felt like a water balloon full of chunky vomit. You know, kind of like a thin, bloated veneer with a bunch of soft pieces constantly shifting about in a viscous liquid. Rufio did a pretty funny little walk as he beelined it for the nearest toilet. Sort of like a quick walk, not a run, but, you know, short steps. And he had held Tink's corpse as far away from his body as possible, all the while saying, "Ew, ew, gross, yuck, gross, ew, yuck, oh God, ew, faster, must go faster, ew, yuck, gross." Until finally he made it to the toilet of the aforementioned pirate. Tink had somehow gotten stuck to Rufio's hand. Sort of like a farmer's blow that won't expel itself from your nostril. So you try to snip it loose with your finger, but it ends up getting super stuck to your hand, and you frantically try to flick it off with rapid hand movements, but end up wiping it on your pants. Yeah, that was Tink. Though luckily for Rufio, he was able to get her off his hand with vigorous shaking. Tink flew the short distance to the toilet, but didn't land in the bowl. Instead, she hit the back of the filthy tank with a splat. She stuck there for a second or two, and then sort of tumbled down the porcelain like a wall walker, ending up half on the seat and half dangling above the water in the bowl. "God damn it!" Rufio exclaimed. He looked around the bathroom for an instrument to push Tink into the water with. The pirate's bathroom was filthy. The guy must have had IBS or something because everything, and I mean everything, was covered in shit. Hell, even the light bulb gave off a sort of brownish tint due to a film of liquid fecal matter that had dried upon it. Rufio quickly grabbed the least shit-covered thing he could see, a toothbrush. The head and bristles were covered, but it being in a novelty Tywin Lannister toothbrush holder, the handle was clean. Being a huge Game of Thrones fan, Rufio had to chuckle at the brush holder. You see, it was Tywin sitting on the toilet seat during his final scene. The toothbrush was inserted in his chest where Tyrion's crossbow bolt would have gone. A little inscription along the bottom read, "It was time for Tyrion to find out if Lannisters really do shit gold." Rufio appreciated the quote as it was one of his favorite lines from the books, which didn't make it into the show. Rufio took the toothbrush, went to the toilet, and tried to push Tinker Bell into the water. But all he managed to accomplish was getting her stuck to the toothbrush. "Fuck it," he said, and threw the toothbrush with the fairy attached into the water. Rufio thought he'd best say a few words before he committed Tink to a burial at sea. As I lay Tink down to sleep, something, mutant sheep, if he hits the juicy turd, it will prove she was a nerd. It's been real. As he reached to flush the lever, all of a sudden he was struck with not a little force on his cheek. Rufio glanced into the toilet with shock and saw Tink was gone. He scanned the bathroom. Smack! He was hit again. "You stupid little bitch!" he heard from a tiny voice near his ear, as an unseen force then pulled him into the sink mirror, shattering it. Rufio fell to the ground on his side. In all the shards of mirror he saw dozens of seething Tinks. He rolled over onto his back to see Tinker Bell hovering above him. She was bloated. She was bruised. One of her eyeballs was hanging by a nerve. And above all, the split dick suit, and the toothbrush were covered in shit. "You were gonna flush me down the toilet, were you?" she accused. "Tink, I tried clapping a lot. What else could I do?" Rufio stammered in fear. "Clapping? You stupid little bitch of a boy. Everyone knows that to bring a fairy back to life, you give her the clap. You don't clap. Luckily for me, pirates are dirty, dirty motherfuckers who love raw dogging it during sex. That sea bitch what I killed earlier had it and I contracted it from the toilet seat," Tink screamed. Rufio's mind reeled at all the information and implications he had just received. "Well, Rufio, time to pay the piper. For your crimes against fairy kind and for a thoroughly shitty eulogy, I sentence thee to epileptic purgatory," Tink said cruelly. "Tink, no, please," Rufio begged. But it was to no avail. Tinker Bell started to slow clap. The lights in the bathroom began to turn on and off. "I'm so sorry," Rufio pleaded. "Please stop." In response, Tink began clapping faster and faster, the lights flickering in response. Rufio's back stiffened and arched upon the cold shit-covered ground. The last thing he heard as his brain gave way to a world of color was Tink's tiny voice saying, "It's been real, Rufio." "Not!" And that is the end of Chapter 5, Dead Alive.
I am so glad that Rufio was able to get Tink off.
Off his hand? Right.
Sure.
Sure.
But you, sir, know a lot about vomit. That was a very descriptive picture that you painted there.
Well, I remember in second grade going to the library, we was taught how to accurately use adjectives, so.
Not even sure what that is, but I'm glad you do.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just trying to make it, classy and beautiful and well-written.
Well, you accomplished that. It was eloquent.
Thank you. I'm sorry I use the word shit so much, but my publisher insists.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
You mean what?
What?
I thought I heard you say, never mind. Anyways, I just got to tell you, my publisher insists that each chapter has the word bitch. at least 3 times. I think I might have failed this chapter, but shit has to be in there about 10 times. There has to be a Game of Thrones reference, and every other chapter needs a crumpet reference. So I think I've been doing pretty well.
You've been getting close. I would like to meet your publisher one day.
I'll introduce you sometime.
Please do.
Well, anyways, I believe that brings us to the end of Two Boys, One Podcast for this week.
Sadness.
Sad. I guess we have They Live to look forward to. At least I do.
Well, I will look forward to it as well, and I will be taking notes as to how to get out of this hole I find myself in. But in the meantime, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everyone. You have a wonderful week. Or day, whatever.
Okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye-bye.
The portions of today's broadcast that you actually enjoyed are brought to you in whole by...
Here at Molly's, we strive for perfection. Through repetition, you can do more than taste the difference in our buns. You can literally touch it. Knuckle deep, you know it's ours. Rising every morning into their firm yet fluffy orbs of wonder. Our secret is simple. Plump, moist, and firm. Never too much yeast. Then that perfect bun gets pounded, spreading it until it nearly tears. Mixed in deep among layers of thick cheese. Finally, the crust is hand-fisted, kneaded, and stuffed with beef and sausage and more cheese, contorting it into one tightly twisted knot of mouth-watering flavor. Baked at a sweltering 500 degrees in our brick oven stove, your taste buds will be able to feel our love. If my lips aren't making your tongue wag, you haven't been listening. I'm Molly, and you'll love my pie.